You can have the greatest idea in the world. You really can, but if you can't convince other people to get on board, well, it doesn't really matter. And when it came to convincing people, few have ever been better than Steve Jobs. His presentations, they weren't just talks, they were legendary events. They launched iconic products and literally changed entire industries. So, how'd he do it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the exact techniques he used to become one of the most captivating speakers on the planet.
Okay, I want you to think about the last time you were trapped in a meeting. You know the one. Dark room, staring at a screen while someone just reads an endless list of bullet points. It's painful, right? It's where great ideas go to die. And marketing guru Seth Godin just hits the nail on the head here. This approach, it doesn't ask for your attention. It just tells you to be a stenographer. It's a huge problem, and it's just incredibly ineffective. And this is what it looks like. This is the enemy. A slide like this is basically an assault on your brain. See, our brains are fundamentally wired to conserve energy. They're kind of lazy, actually. So when you overload them with this much text, you're not communicating. You're just creating cognitive clutter. It's just noise. The audience checks out, your message gets totally lost, and your big idea, it just fizzles out.
Let's give this thing a name, shall we? Death by PowerPoint. It's the villain of our story, and it's the default, go-to communication style for millions of people. But what if there was a better way? What if there was a method to actually sell your ideas, to build real excitement, and to get your point across?
Well, that's our hero, the Steve Jobs method. And listen, this isn't some kind of magic talent he was born with. Not at all. It's a set of simple and, more importantly, learnable techniques that anyone, and I mean anyone, can apply. We're going to break it down into 3 core secrets that were the foundation of every single one of his incredible presentations.
All right, secret number 1. He created the story. Now, before he ever touched a piece of software like Keynote or PowerPoint, Jobs planned everything out with a pen and paper. Think about that. He knew that the software doesn't tell the story. You do. The slides are just there to back you up, not to be the main event. He would spend hours and hours just thinking, sketching, and scripting the entire plot from beginning to end.
And at the absolute core of that story was the answer to one single powerful question. This question right here. It's what every single person in your audience is silently asking themselves from the second you start talking. Why should I care? If you don't answer that question and answer it fast, you've lost them. It's that simple. Jobs built his entire narrative around answering this one thing.
And you can see this in action so clearly. When Apple launched the iPod, they could have described it with a bunch of technical specs. You know, an ultra-portable MP3 player with a 5GB hard drive. That's the jargon. But instead, Jobs answered the question, why should you care? Because it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. See the difference? One is a boring feature list. The other, that's a story. That's a benefit. That's a dream. And that is everything. But look, a great story is only half the battle. Jobs' second secret was all about how he brought that story to life. He delivered an experience. Once the story was locked in, he obsessed over turning it into this memorable, multi-sensory event for everyone in the room. He didn't just give a presentation, he put on a show. His slides were just beautiful in their simplicity. Now, yeah, I know, it's a little ironic that we're using bullet points here to explain this, but it's to make a really key point. Jobs himself never, ever used them. His slides were incredibly visual. A lot of times, it was just one big image or maybe a few words on a clean background. He understood what scientists call the picture superiority effect, which is just a fancy way of saying our brains remember things way, way better when we see them as pictures instead of just words on a screen.
He also knew that big, abstract numbers are pretty much meaningless without some context. So when he announced that Apple had sold 4 million iPhones in just 200 days, he didn't just leave that giant number hanging there. He made it real. He broke it down. He said, that's 20,000 iPhones every single day. And suddenly, boom, that huge number becomes tangible. It becomes impressive. It means something. And his stagecraft, it was legendary. To introduce the MacBook Air, the world's thinnest notebook, he didn't just show a slide of it. No way! He walked over to a table, picked up a standard plain manila office envelope, and pulled the actual computer out of it. It was this single dramatic moment, a prop that created what he called a holy shit moment. It was an unforgettable reveal the audience talked about for weeks. Just brilliant. Okay, so we have a powerful story. We have an unforgettable experience. But the final secret, the secret ingredient really, is what made it all look so natural. He made it look absolutely effortless. And this, right here,
is the great myth of Steve Jobs. So many people watched him on stage, so casual, so relaxed and conversational, and just assumed he was born that way, that he was just a natural. But the truth is actually way more interesting and, honestly, way more encouraging for the rest of us.
The reality? Jobs rehearsed obsessively. According to this report, that casual, informal style you saw was the result of grueling hours of practice. He would spend days, sometimes even weeks, preparing for just one keynote. Every slide, every demo, every single word was choreographed and rehearsed over and over and over again until it was absolutely perfect.
You've probably heard of the 10,000-hour rule, right? The idea that real mastery in anything takes about 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. Well, from his very first presentations at the Homebrew Computer Club, all the way to his final keynotes, Jobs put in the hours. That natural charisma wasn't a gift, it was earned.
And this brings us to the most crucial point of all. Jobs understood that a presentation isn't just about dumping information into people's heads. It's about creating an emotion. The amazing poet Maya Angelou once said that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel. So the next time you're preparing to speak, don't just ask yourself what you want the audience to know. Ask yourself, what do you want them to feel? Because that is the real secret.